My name's Brooke. I've just recently moved to Cowra to work at the gallery, and I work in photography, contemporary photography and video, and the images I'm sharing tonight are from a series, a contemporary photography series based in Captain's Flat, which is a very small town in southern New South Wales where I grew up. So this was a really different project to things that I've done before. As a photographer, if anyone's a photographer, they know like it's often about seeing life from the outside, being an observer and kind of trying to distill down, you know, a day or a situation or a moment into something that you can show another person. But this for me was a very different kind of project because Captain's Flat is a really big part of my life. I grew up there, my family's lived there since before a town even existed there. All of my memories, you know, childhood memories and adolescent memories kind of are based in the town. So it was really difficult for me to think about how I was going to approach making the work about something that's such a big part of me. So it's actually an old mining town. It has all this crazy infrastructure. It's surrounded by this really, you know, post-apocalyptic kind of cut-out mining hills and things like that. But on other sides as well, like amazing national parks. It's got a lot of history in the labour movement because it was filled with mining men, and it's still very much a working class town. Although it's only about 45 minutes from Canberra, it feels much further away most of the time. And it's a really interesting mix of, you know, old miners' cottages and things like that, and then being close to Canberra, a lot of people move there and build their mini mansions with no yard and that kind of thing. So I had to really think about how I was going to approach it, and more than the images themselves, I really wanted to give the viewer like an experience of how I experienced the town, and then ask them to maybe look at their own town or where they are from in the same kind of way to come up with a different idea of where they were from. So in approaching it, I kind of decided that I wanted to be really true to the town, and I didn't want to create a false idea of it. So I didn't want to go knocking on people's doors and go to their houses and get all photos of people in the houses, because that didn't really tell the feeling of the town. And so when we were kids, basically all we used to do is just wander the streets, which is, you know, a luxury of living in a very, very small community. We'd go out at lunchtime, we'd go out after breakfast, go to the pool, roam around, whatever, come home for lunch, go again, come home at dark. So I decided that that was the way that I was going to approach the work. So I basically just got my big camera and I just would wander the streets. If someone was outside or in their yard, I'd ask if I could photograph them. And at the same time, then I'd photograph the buildings and the natural environment kind of around the town. So I felt like that was a really authentic way of approaching the work, because that's the way that I experienced it, and I really wanted to kind of give that feeling rather than a group of images of people. Because to me, it wasn't just the people that made the town, it was a big part of it, but it's the people, it's the nature around it, it's the buildings, it's the townscapes, it's a whole lot of things. So I wanted to kind of include all of that stuff. I used a combination of film, of medium format film and digital. I didn't set out to do that, but when I started doing it, I thought that that really spoke directly to the subject matter that I was using, because to me, Captain's Flat is this really old town with some new stuff stuck all on top of it. So I thought that using a medium like spoke directly to that subject matter, so I continued to do that. So for me, this was kind of a bit of a labour of love. I've lived interstate and overseas for a long time, and me and my siblings only go back to Captain's Flat when we're in need of some cash, or we need 6 months out of the city or something, and we go to mum and dad's house and they feed us and we hang out there. There's no mobile phone service, and like you can just recover from life, you know. So I hadn't been there for a long time, and walking around town with this giant kind of film camera, I met a lot of new people that had moved there, and you know, they would say to you, "Oh, did you just move here?" I don't know, we just moved here. I own this place. Or people that I hadn't seen for years, like people who I went to school with, people whose parents that I went to school with, all that kind of stuff. We'd see them around the streets and they'd ask what I was doing, and you know, you get the stories about what has been happening with them, their kids, their life, all that kind of stuff. So it was real, what I love about photography and what I love about art is when it, you know, gives something to the viewer, gives something to the subject, and it really gives something to the artist as well. And for me, this really did that. You know, it made me, and with film, if anyone photographs with film, you really have to take your time. Digital is one thing, you can walk around and snap, 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 but if you work with film, you know, you're kind of thinking, especially if you're an artist, you're thinking it's $1 every time. And it's $2 to get it processed, and then I'm going to scan it. So you really have to be very measured in your approach and take your time. So I felt like this project kind of slowed me down. I had to really walk, you know, walk around the town, like walk my route, and I couldn't rush past anything. I couldn't rush past anyone. I had to be very considered in everything that I did. And it really just kind of took me back to the basics of what I love about photography and art. And that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say.